there is a very real set group of criminals that a wall and deportations alone is wholly insufficient to deter them from coming to the United States to commit crime. I have prosecuted people who were deported more than 10 times, yet they come back exclusively to commit crime, whether that is human trafficking, whether it's drug trafficking, whether it's money laundering, you name it. There's an incentive for criminals to come to the United States because they are able to enrich themselves with very low risk of extreme cost. And one of the real gaps that I see and that I saw when prosecuting cases is the maximum sentence that can be imposed on someone from coming back into the country after being deported is 2 years. And 2 years is no deterrent. Again, going back to that cost-benefit analysis, I prosecuted cartel members, and if they got a 24-month sentence, a 2-year sentence, it would not interrupt their criminal operation at all. Their colleagues would understand that all they had to do is wait 24 months. They would continue on with their criminal activity. And within 2 short years, this individual would either be released and then deported. And again, these folks are smart. They are creative. They have made a very big business on how to get back into the United States to commit crimes. And this bill, in large part, closes that gap in the law. Yes, we must have deportations. Yes, we must have a sound border, whether that's a wall or technology, both. But we need to have a legal deterrent that targets the person or the persons who are committed to returning here time and time again to commit crimes in the United States. I don't want to get ahead of the White House. We have some more meetings with the White House. Hopefully that will be done early next week, possibly the end of this week. I can tell you again, especially with Attorney General Bondi, as a former prosecutor herself who has tried cases, she's worked with local law enforcement, federal law enforcement. She understands the need to have an effective and efficient law to go after these criminals. She could not have been more optimistic and bullish about this law. She was very affirming in my endeavor. She's willing to work with us to try to perfect it. And I look forward to continuing those meetings, and that basically applies to Mr. Miller as well. What the administration is all about is fixing our immigration problem. What my bill does is it categorizes illegal aliens who commit crimes in a wholly different category. And the basic premise of the bill states the following, that if you are here illegally and we happen to miss you and we can't deport you, we can't find you, but if you commit a felony and you are found guilty of that felony, that alone will qualify you for a federal charge that you could spend the rest of your life in prison for. The second part of this penalizes the illegal re-entry. So if someone is deported and they come back into the country a second time, rather than having a 24-month cap, a 2-year cap on the sentence, it takes it up to 10 years. And then perhaps most importantly, it says if you are in the United States illegally and you receive a felony conviction, you get deported, and then you come back into the country a second, third, or fourth time, which happens far too often. That qualifies you for a sentence of minimum 10 years and up to life in prison. And again, this is not removing the authority to immediately deport somebody. It's not removing the authority to detain and sentence to a lower number than 10 years, obviously. It is just adding various tools that are necessary to deter hardened criminals from considering returning to the United States to commit crimes. And that's really what this law is about. It's about, yes, supporting the deportations. Yes, supporting the border wall funding. I took votes in the Homeland Security Committee just yesterday to provide funding for these important initiatives. But we need to close the loophole in the legal structure to deter criminals from feeling really incentives on coming back to the United States to commit crimes. We need to make it very costly to do so, and this bill achieves that. As an organized crime prosecutor at the federal level, I unfortunately have become very familiar with many of the groups that we've already discussed, MS-13, the Sinaloa Cartel, the Mexican Mafia. They're a dime a dozen, unfortunately, and they have become unbelievably wealthy and unbelievably proficient at gaining entry into the United States and committing crimes. And again, the law, when you look at it, cost-benefit analysis. the cost right now is obviously too low because they come here over and over and over. There is no crime that is beneath them. There's no crime that they are willing to stay away from. If they can make money doing it, they are going to exploit it, and they are going to take tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars away from this country and take it back home to further perfect their craft of crime. And in terms of the fear of illegally re-entering, there were multiple cases, too many to remember for me, where someone was deported, and this is after serving federal time, and they'd be back on the streets in the United States within 2 weeks, again, committing crimes. I talked to someone who was deported more than 10 times. He actually flipped and became an informant in one of my cases. And I asked him, I was like, why do you keep coming back to the United States? And he was very candid with me. He said, why wouldn't I? He could make more money. He could operate in a country that was safer. People were nice. He could enrich himself while poisoning the children that he would sell drugs to. And again, he had been deported over a dozen times, and he came back time and time again to commit crimes. And I think most Americans agree that our tolerance for that must end. We must eradicate that abuse from our society. It's affected far too many families. It's affected every community in our country. Our schools are underfunded. Our hospitals are underfunded. Our law enforcement is taxed way too much with the duties that we're asking them to carry out. And in large part, all of those problems can be attributed to the toll that illegal immigration has brought to the country.